Welcome everyone back to weekly weather updates, and in today's video we're going to have a look at the latest from the live radar from through the UKV, have a look at the precipitation and the temperature over the next 5 days. It's looking likely to be very unsettled but relatively mild, with southwesterly winds pushing in, but of course those moist, warmer southwesterly winds are going to mean that rain is very heavy at times. And you see on the live radar at the moment we do have bouts of big weather fronts pushing in, giving some heavy rain in places. Now that will continue for most of this working week. However, as we head towards next weekend and the start of next week, as we'll see on the GEM, GFS, ECWF and the ensembles, perhaps we're seeing a bit more higher pressure building in through the northern hemisphere, and it's looking likely we will see some colder weather at least for a time, especially in the north, but it's looking likely that even areas further south was good that you see that cold air drift in for a time. Again, not expecting any snow, nothing like that. Perhaps some wintry showers over the far north of Scotland, but really it's going to be the frosts and the generally colder weather with a strong wind chill that is going to be the issues with that. And of course, we're almost getting towards April now, and I know a lot of people, as I said in previous videos, are looking forward to something a bit warmer and drier, but at the moment we're not seeing much in the way of that. So do remember, if you enjoy my videos, make sure you like and subscribe, and remember to follow me on Twitter as well, the link's in the description. So you start on the live radar, you can see we've got two areas of widespread rain. We've got one through Northern Ireland, Northern England, into the Midlands and East Anglia. This is slowly drifting its way northwards, and it will be edging its way very slowly over the course of the rest of the day. So some areas in the Midlands and East Anglia should start to see this dissipate, but it will move further northwards, staying sort of intact before it does fizzle out later today. We've got this other area of precipitation down in the southwest. Now this is not modelled to be this strong, but as this moves in, it's looking like to skirt the south of England, moving slightly northwards but mostly eastwards around the low pressure. However, it is of course associated with the main low, and we've got more weather fronts out there, so areas inland in southern England, East Anglia, the Midlands once again will likely see more rain through this evening into tomorrow. But if that real heavy rain down in the far southwest did come inland, we could see some issues there. Some bright colours mixing in there, some very heavy rain, and could even be some lightning within that, with those reds indicating absolutely torrential rain that you could associate with a thunderstorm. So we'll have to see what happens with that over the coming hours. Now I'm recording this around 9 AM, and you can see the temperatures are generally average to slightly above average for the time of year. A lot of yellows around indicating temperatures in the double digits, and they will progress to probably the mid-teens by this afternoon, maybe 14 or 15 degrees. Still across Scotland it is colder, but once again mainly over the higher routes as expected this time of year. Of course, if we did see that colder air mass come in, those lighter blues would spread more widely. Again, definitely later in the season to be seeing widespread cold, but there is the potential for cooler, or at least well below average conditions as we progress towards the end of the month. Because generally across Europe we're starting to slowly see a warm up, with lesser in those lighter blues, which indicate temperatures towards freezing, and more in the way of the yellows, temperatures into the double digits, if not into the mid to maybe in high teens for some areas down towards southern Europe. So if we do have a look at the UKV now, I'll have a look at the precipitation and the temperature over the next 5 days. Now I can see that rain band in the north is slowly edging northwards through the rest of today. We'll probably hit Scotland through the afternoon for basically fizzling out. That area of rain in the far southwest does sort of skirt the south coast, but here it's not modelled to be anywhere near as intense as it is in reality, so could come further inland. It could be more intense for those southern coastal areas. Beyond that, through the afternoon, we see that rain band in the north clear and in the south clear, but then we see the cold front sweep in from the west, giving more widespread rain through the evening. A little disorganised there, not a distinct line of rain, wall of rain really, a bit more patchy, but most areas will see some precipitation once again through the evening into the early hours of Tuesday. Eventually that should clear, and for many on Tuesday it will be a day of sunshine and showers, with that heavy thundery showers potentially breaking out once again. Not too much of an intense signal there, but still the opportunity for some heavy thundery showers, but equally the chance of some nice bright sunshine as well. However, you can see out to the west another big wall of rain is moving back in, another weather front. and through Tuesday evening it will start to spread in for most of Republic of Ireland and Northern Ireland, giving quite a wet evening there, but further westwards, so through Wales, England and Scotland it will progress in, and for all areas overnight Tuesday into Wednesday it will sweep through, giving some really quite heavy rain, but it should slowly clear for most by sunrise on Wednesday. As we progress beyond that, through Wednesday it's a relatively decent day in the far south and east, with mostly sunshine, but perhaps some thicker cloud, but further westwards, those heavy thundery showers are breaking out, and they're quite bulky, these showers here. They will move further eastwards into lines as they spread through, so there could be some very heavy rain Wednesday night into Thursday, some squally bands of precipitation there, for eventually through Thursday. Do just continue to see those heavy thundery showers breaking out, and that continues into Friday, where we could see some frontal rainfall perhaps in the far southeast, a little bit of a slide low there again. That coming winter we'd see a dumping of snow, but coming now into the end of March it's going to give some very cold rain down in the far southeast, for eventually, as we head into the weekend, it stays unsettled, but you can see that those winds are veering more into the north, and you have a look at those upper air temperatures. There is cold air now lingering just to our north, trying to drift in. Again, different runs have different ideas exactly how much that cold air will be at play, but definitely looks likely the northern half of the British Isles will be very much impacted by that through next week. Southern areas, more uncertainty as we do see the jet stream interact with it. That could bring some snow over higher routes in the north. For the south, it's likely to keep it cold, but more unsettled with big bouts of precipitation. Now, if you do have a look at the raw temperatures at the surface, you can see through this afternoon temperatures likely to peak around that 12 to 14 degree mark. Not too bad if you saw some sunshine, but I don't think many areas are seeing a lot of sunshine through today. Good thing about when we have milder weather is that overnight temperatures don't drop away all too much, about 8 to 10 degrees quite widely. And then as we head into Tuesday afternoon, again temperatures back to maybe 14 or 15 degrees, not too bad. Beyond that into Wednesday, again temperatures overnight a little bit cooler in the north and west with slightly colder air masses, but during the day into Wednesday 14 or 15 degrees, once again peaking perhaps through eastern England. Beyond that into Thursday, still some cooler air in the far north, but most areas down towards sort of 12 to 14 degrees through Thursday in the day, and by Friday, once again 10 to 12. So slightly sliding down towards the end of the week, and you see overnight temperatures starting to drop below freezing in Scotland, but not expecting anything too exceptional at this stage. It's really into the weekend and start of next week, where we'll start to see that cold air perhaps start to impact us a little bit more, but as emphasised, we're not expecting anything severe at all. It is way too late in the year to see anything too severe without a big northerly plunge really here. So if we do have a look at the GFS and see how cold weather could evolve towards next week, you can see the westerly winds at the moment is this low that sits over the top of us towards the end of the week, giving us very unsettled weather. But it's as it clears, we start to see northerly winds pushing cold air there by Sunday, drifting for all areas, but staying mainly in the north, where we see low pressure sliding in the south. Again, this continues to move in, and we continue to see colder air in the north before eventually west to southwesterly winds to move in for early April and give us milder conditions. Now, if we do run it back and have a look at these air masses, you'll see it's quite a strong contrast. Cold air filtering out the Arctic, mild Atlantic air colliding. That's why we're going to see quite severe low pressure systems mixed in this as well. See the cold air drifting in, -5 isotherm gets through quite widely through Sunday, with the -10 isotherm perhaps into Scotland. Eventually does get swept away in the far south with milder air, but never gets too far away from the north, that colder air, and could give some snow in the Highlands of Scotland, some even frontal snowfall with these lows interacting with it. Right to the far extent, we do stay on the cold side of the jet stream. You can see the sort of yellows in the milder wedge, the only real resemblance of milder air we get, but generally in the longer term we do start to see that jet stream shift slightly further northwards, and of course that cold air to our north is really started to run out. You can see really only bitterly cold air over the far north, over the North Pole really now, areas over Scandinavia, up towards northeast Canada, even towards Greenland and Iceland. That cold air is starting to run out. Now, if you look at the GM, see how that does compare. Again, that westerly flow coming in, very unsettled towards the end of this week. And as that pulls away, we do see that northerly wind. However, just because of the evolution of these lows out in the Atlantic, it's not quite as direct with less of an Atlantic ridge. Now this means the cold air will get in, but not for all areas, probably not into the far south. Instead, we see slight lows, meaning it's going to be very unsettled in the south with a lot of cold rain. Beyond that, into next week, we stay unsettled, but eventually we see that cold air drift in. A bit more of an Atlantic ridge here, and a stronger low, giving a quite distinct northerly wind. Again, it does look like there's a lot of blocking patterns around, but let's remember, the cold air to our north is not too widespread, so we shouldn't expect anything too severe at all through the end of March, early April. But cold air does spread in, at least for the north here, for a good few days, perhaps the south temporarily for maybe 48 to 72 hours. And again, not expecting anything too significant, just cooler than average temperatures down towards the mid to high single digits, probably quite a cold wind chill and perhaps quite harsh overnight frosts for the time of year. If we do finish by just looking at the ECMWF, again a westerly flow pushing in at the moment, staying very unsettled. Eventually we see that brief northerly wind come in, and then we see those slider lows. More of a distinct northerly wind there by Sunday, before eventually southwesterly winds try to push in, but we continue to see that block further north as trying to shove colder air out. But actually, the ECMWF does go milder. So we do see colder air drift in, at least for a few days there, especially in the north, but even for southern areas, we do see that cold air move in, but definitely for sort of Monday time. But then eventually, we do see southwesterlies push in, jet stream slightly further northwards, so this would be unsettled for all. Pretty continuation of what we have now, but of course turning milder as well. And of course, the more we progress, these milder temperatures, these 5 to 10 degree isotherm, is just going to slowly increase in 2 metre temperature as well. In the summer, the 10 degree isotherm can give temperatures in the mid to high 20s. This time of year, you'd be surprised if we got much above sort of 15, 16, 17 degrees. So slowly, even though those air masses to our south are not increasing too much, it will be warmer with the same air mass we do have now in a month's time. So we will see what happens with that. So if we do finish by having a look at the Ensemble's latest GFS ensembles, you see just above average at the moment, trending more towards average towards the end of this week. It's slightly below, slightly above, not as much of a distinct signal for colder weather, but that is because we're looking at London here, which is a lot more uncertain and has different timings. Definitely, most ones do have some sort of cold weather for a time, but uncertain exactly when it will come and how succinct it will be. But generally average to below average, maybe peaking slightly above with milder sectors. So cool and very unsettled to end March and start April. Again, you can have a look at the dew points and you'll be able to see that it is pretty cold dew points down towards the low single digits. Not quite below freezing, so not expecting any wintry showers here, but definitely cold enough dew points for frosts and make it generally feel quite cold. Again, the 2 metre temperatures are not expected to be anything too exceptional. Again, perhaps 8 or 9 degrees, but feeling colder than that in the wind chill. Of course, the milder days will be 13, 14, 15, so nothing, as I said, exceptional. Some would have hoped to see 20 degrees by now. In springs gone past, we have, unfortunately, not this year. We've not seen anything particularly warm through March. And if we finish by just looking at the ECMWF ensemble members, again, you can see a relatively strong signal for just generally average, maybe slightly below, slightly above average conditions through the end of March and start of April, and very unsettled as well. Big spread in the longer term, but no huge signal for anything majorly cold or majorly mild. Definitely all options on the table. And if we just look at Glasgow, for example, you can see much more of a succinct, colder pattern there for a good few days at least, perhaps longer, while we see those colder air masses drifting in all the way to the end of March. But it is looking hugely unsettled there. Look at all those precipitation spikes. So regardless of what happens with the upper air temperatures, it is looking pretty much rainy most of the days, or at least the opportunity for rain for a time in most days. So not looking at any drier weather really, or any sustained drier weather, and we're not looking at anything particularly warm at all, even these ensemble members keeping us around average over the next week or two. The temperature's going to be around the low teens, which with rain, cloud, feels like we're back in sort of late winter and pretty drab conditions really, so not looking too good if you want something dry or warm. But hopefully things will be changing. We are heading into April, a new month, and as we progress through the year, the chance of these cooler, wetter conditions will reduce as the jet stream slowly shifts further northwards. Inevitably this time of year, the polar vortex will eventually completely collapse for the summer, and those warmer air masses will prevail more than those colder air masses, which will really retreat directly to the North Pole within the next sort of month or two. So anyway, thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you again for another video soon.